Hey, Inklets, it's Adele from Let's Get Inkie, and we're up with our second part for our mixed media Canvas Girl series thingamajig that I'm doing at the moment. So if you haven't watched part one, pause it now and go and look at part one, because that's where we prepped our surface and started some modelling paste work, and now we're moving on to adding some colour and some texture. So these are two canvases that I created for some scrapbooking giveaway competitions that some friends were running at some crop days, and I've already done the background and added some modelling paste flowers, and now I'm just using a few different flower stamps. So I think this one is from, is it Winnie and Walter? There's that big one is, I think, from Prima. I just went through my stash just to find any kind of florally looking stamps, and I don't want them to stamp out perfect, because there is texture paste already on this background, modelling paste, texture paste, same thing, and I don't want them to, I just don't need them to be absolutely perfect. So when you're doing a canvas like this, you've got to take into consideration that it is quite a textured background with all of the layers, and things won't work out perfectly, and I'm okay with that. So I'm just adding some little leaves now, and you can see I'm doing this very technically using my fingers and not an acrylic block, which I should be doing. And I'm just going to now kind of map out where I want this girl's hair to be. So I kind of want her hair just to be flowing off into the breeze. The reason why I'm doing the two canvases at the same time is I think it's a lot quicker to do, and a lot easier as well. So I'm using my Tombow brush. I think they're called dual brush markers. They have a brush end on one end and then a skinnier tip on the other one. And I'm just using them just to do some little strokes, some flowy little strokes, and they do react with water a little bit. I'm using some Distress stains and some Dilutions Mists here, and you can pause it to look at those colours if you want to know the names of them. And always have paper towel handy, because these little buggers get messy. So I decided to add some water first, because the texture paste is already on there, and by having the water it will flow easier throughout the crevices of the flowers that we used in the last video of the stencil. And look at that, it's like they appear by magic. Ooh, I love it. If I was a bit more prepared, I would have used some masking fluid to mask off the girl's face, because I did end up getting some paint where I didn't want it just there. But you know what? It's okay. It's all right. So I'm just tipping it around and adding a little bit more water here and there, and it just comes to life. I just love it. I think I might... These were both given away for the competitions, but I think I may have to recreate it a third time for myself. I really do, because I loved it. I actually filmed this a year ago, and I've only just found it on my hard drive, so it's a bit of a hidden gem for you today. So I'm just doing the same thing with this canvas, and you can see that you're not going to get the same result twice. As hard as you try, you just can't. There's too many variables. And so they turn out pretty similar, but there are, one of them seems to be a bit more pinky than the other one, I think. And you can see all those flowers in the background are all from the ink going in between the modelling paste that we used in the last video. So now I'm doing one of my favourite techniques, which is where I just get water and splash it onto these distress stains. And you just leave it for about 30 seconds and then use a paper towel to mop it up, and it does like a bleached, spotty effect, and it makes it look like you've done something really complicated when you actually haven't. So this will only work for products that are water soluble, so that they react with water. So just waiting, and then sopping it up. Now be careful. If you use a piece of paper towel that has a colour on it that you don't want, like it might have yellow or green or something on there, it will transfer, because the water will react it again. So just be careful if you do that. Drying it with my heat gun, and then this is my use it up journal, which is now almost all done, and I always just add extra paints and things to it, and I often use it as a paint palette when I want to, when I need a paint palette. So I'm just using my water brush and some Winsor & Newton watercolors just to add a little bit of color to the flowers that I stamped before. So very easy. I'm just adding a little bit of water, squeezing it from that water brush, smushing it around the flowers, and just adding some color. No real technique. I'm kind of adding some splatters by just pressing it and flicking my finger a little bit. And then when I'm finished, this page that I use as a paint palette actually works as a background for another page. So it kind of kills two birds. What is it? Hits two birds with a stone, feather. Kills, there's a saying, kills two birds with one stone. Is that it? I don't know. It does. It's good for lazy peeps like me. So I'm just going around and adding a few little details here, and they do fade a little bit with, I like to tap it with the paper towel so that the colour isn't as in your face. It's a bit more, not muted, but a bit more flowy with the rest of the paint, so it doesn't look like it's plonked right on top. I'm also adding a little bit of shadowing just around her face with a darker purple colour, and down the bottom there just to add the illusion of the shadows down the bottom. And you can see the ink is actually coming out further and further and further across her face, and I do end up getting a bit of ink at some point on her face that I don't want there, which is a bit annoying. Also using my finger just to smush things out a bit and to add some splatters. I hope I've got the numbers right on these. I think I do. I do have baby brain though, so I think this is canvas 2. So let me know in the comments below if you have ever done some off the page mixed media stuff. And if you'd like to see more projects like this on this channel. I usually do art journaling over here, and then scrapbooking on my main channel, Inkie Quill. But let me know if you'd like to see some more kind of painty projects, because I do paint giant canvases for my house. I do kind of like, if you know Roy Lichtenstein, the artist, that kind of pop art style portraits. I do some pin-up girls and some girls' faces and things like that. So let me know if you'd like to see some more canvas painting techniques. So the colors that I went for, if you really want to know, you can let me know in the comments below, but they were just ones that my parents got me for Christmas a couple of years ago. But any watercolor would work. You could use some cheapy watercolors from your cheap shop, $2 shop, craft shop, whatever shop. You could also just water down some acrylic paint if you wanted to. You could also just spray some mist onto a piece of plastic and pick the color up with a water brush or a paintbrush. So you don't have to have New Butte watercolors. You can use whatever you like. So I'm just adding, this is the one I think that turns out more pinky. You can see already it's a bit more pinky than the other one, which is lovely. I love both of them. I really do. And I'm glad I had one of the ladies that won the painting in the auction. I think there was an auction. I think it was. She messaged me and said how happy she was. So that made me happy. So I'm just adding, what am I adding now? Some stenciling. Oh, okay. So we used this stencil previously with texture paste through it, and now I'm using some White Dilutions paint and my Tim Holtz paint dauber thingamajiggy, just to add a bit of extra shadowing and a little, I love doing this with the White Dilutions paint. I just think it makes like a really soft ghost-like look to the background, and it's my favorite color to put through a stencil, white. It really is. So this is almost up. Stay tuned for next week when we finish it off. We add a quote, we add lots of details, we add some goldness to it, and I'll see you all same time, same place next week. Bye.